I usually start my day with a to-do list of any showing requests that I received from my clients, or I'll look for properties that my clients might be interested in, and then I'll schedule follow-ups throughout the day. So I like to review information that comes through on what is going on in Chicago in terms of the stats, prices. The Chicago Association of Realtors, they release stats every single month regarding the market in Chicago. And what is happening right now in Chicago is kind of a reflection of what's happening all over the US. So here in Chicago specifically, we have been down in the number of new listings. So we've already been down since the pandemic. So we've been down in the number of new homes up for sale since 2020. And this year specifically, we're down from last year almost 30%. In fact, most of the people that are selling their homes are because they're relocating, they had a divorce, they're looking to expand their family. Most people are not selling just to sell. Most people are waiting to see what happens with mortgage interest rates, and the market is very competitive in certain areas. So if you go, for example, to the suburbs or the outskirts of Chicago, the market is so competitive because there's not a lot of homes up for sale, and a lot of people are actually migrating from the city to the suburbs. So you're seeing this huge surge in demand for living in the suburbs. I had a client that I was working with that wanted to live in one of the northwest suburbs here near Chicago, and I think we made 11 offers, and they were all very competitive offers, but I mean, you were competing against 5 to 10 other people, and even some all cash deals. So the market is still super competitive because we don't have a lot of inventory, and so that's what's kind of keeping prices stable or even up from last year. The number of new listings in the city of Chicago, we were down 25% in single family homes and 33% with condos. I actually thought that would be the opposite. I thought there would be more new listings for condos versus homes. And the median sales price, we are up 1% from last year. So this is information that I look at. I try to look at frequently so I can advise my clients. It also depends on where you're looking. I would say that there is more competition on the north side versus the south side, just because there's more demand to live in the north side versus the south side. I also work a lot with investors. So I work a lot with people who are investing out of state. And a lot of my investors tend to focus on the south side of Chicago. I'm also licensed in Indiana. That's like the northwest region. So that's borderline the south side of Chicago. So I work that area as well with investors. And because most investors are looking for lower price points, they're primarily looking to cash flow on their property. And the lower price points tend to be more prominent on the south side of Chicago, which also tends to mean lower taxes, higher cash flow. This year has been more difficult with buyers because it is more competitive. And here I got a call from my client in Bermuda. So I know the first 3 properties that you sent me, I looked them up on the MLS, and all 3 look like they need work. And I guess my question was, are you trying to pick up a property that needs cosmetic rehab? Are you looking for a full gut? I guess what's the extent of the work that you're trying to do?
Basically, we want to get a good deal where the numbers make sense. I know cosmetic would probably be the easiest type of rehab. However, we are looking at numbers. So the cosmetic is probably easier, but our goal is to just have a higher ARV.
I did want to explain one thing to you guys regarding some of these properties and just kind of like the way that the city of Chicago works. So the city of Chicago sometimes may inspect a unit for whatever reason. It could be that they're driving by and they see a building that is abandoned, or it could be that someone's living there and the tenant calls the city of Chicago because their living conditions are not up to par. And so some of these properties have violations, and there is a site where whoever you get to be your GC, your general contractor, would have to work with the city of Chicago. I would recommend that they are familiar with working with the city of Chicago, because you guys would have to make sure that those violations are cleared.
As to properties up in that section, those violations are a bit more simple. They're not electrical.
Yeah.
One of them might be a little bit structural.
Exactly. Yeah. I can give you some recommendations of general contractors that work in the city that I know and I've worked with. So I had one client I worked with, and she bought a 4-unit building in the city, in the south side of Chicago, in South Shore. It was a 4-unit building. It had a fire. It had a lot of city violations, and so it was a gut. Like, the whole building was gutted out. When she met with her contractor, the contractor told her it would take a year. It ended up taking about a year and a half. Almost 2 years. Her issue was not necessarily with the building itself, because it was a gut rehab. Everything was new. It was mainly with the contractor and the lack of communication that he had with the city inspectors.
If you can get across the inspector part, the violation part, I think it would be good in regards to the last two properties.
So Humboldt Park is a nice area, and if you look, like, for example, on Redfin, and you just type in Humboldt Park, you will see $1 million homes there.
Okay.
And you have a lot of new construction. When you look at the neighborhoods, it could be block by block. Also, the other thing that makes properties more desirable is also where they're located at, like if they're close to transportation. So that's another thing that people look at. And here you are close to transportation because you're close to the CTA there. Chicago Transit Authority is what they're called. If I had to choose, I would choose Humboldt Park. So I just finished a call with a potential investor that is looking to buy an investment property here in Chicago. They're coming in from Bermuda. They're not gonna fly in to take a look at the properties. I guess they have someone here looking for them. But I had like an hour conversation with them regarding what they're looking for. They wanna buy here in the Chicago area as a flip, which is a little bit harder to do, but we went through the specific details of what they're looking for. And, you know, these are the types of conversations that I have with all of my clients that are looking to invest. And so hopefully we'll start showing some of those units to them in the coming week.